There comes a moment in every woman's life when she looks in the mirror and silently asks, "Is there still time for me?" Perhaps you're feeling it right now. That nagging sense that your best years are behind you, that your creativity has dried up, that your dreams have become nothing more than faded memories. But what I'm about to tell you will turn that story upside down. Because in 1974, in a small town in the American heartland, something impossible happened. Women who hadn't conceived in decades began to get pregnant, not just with babies but with projects and relationships, entire life purposes that seemed dead. And it all started with a glass of water. Have you ever felt that there's a version of yourself that's fallen asleep, as if there were a creative force inside you that simply stopped pulsing? Kathryn Kuhlman knew that feeling exactly. At 47, she was devastated. Her ministry felt stagnant. Her marriage had ended in scandal. People whispered that she was too old to be used by God, too old to dream, too old to start over. She locked herself in her room for 3 days, without eating, without speaking to anyone, just staring out the window, watching the waning moon disappear completely into the night sky. And it was on the 3rd night, when the moon was totally dark, that she had the revelation that would change not only her life, but the lives of thousands of women who would follow. Kathryn realized something that modern science is only beginning to understand, that the female body isn't just physical, it's cosmic, connected to cycles that go far beyond what our eyes can see. She began to observe a pattern. The women who experienced the most profound miracles in her meetings always came during the days close to the new moon. They always drank blessed water specifically at those times. It wasn't a coincidence. It was as if the entire universe conspired for female renewal to happen in sync with the lunar rebirth. But there was an even deeper secret. A ritual that Kathryn developed in silence, away from the spotlight. A ritual she only taught to the women who came to her with that look, the look of someone who had given up on dreaming. Kathryn realized that every woman carries within her a spiritual womb. A sacred space where not only babies are born, but ideas, projects, relationships, entire purposes. And this spiritual womb can be inactive for years, decades, but it's never dead. She began to teach that water, when blessed during the new moon, carried the same energy of renewal that made the moon reborn every 28 days, the same energy that one day regulated the intimate cycle of every woman. "The body forgets," she used to whisper to the women who sought her out, "but the soul remembers. And when you drink this water on the new moon, you're reminding your soul that there's still time to create." The first women thought it was crazy. Blessed water, new moon. They were 50, 60 years old. Their bodies had long since stopped releasing eggs. How could they conceive anything? But something extraordinary began to happen. Margaret, 54, had given up painting 20 years ago. On the first new moon, after drinking Kathryn's water, she woke up at 3 in the morning with an uncontrollable urge to pick up her brushes. She painted for 12 hours straight. She created the masterpiece of her life. Sarah, 61, a widow for a decade, met the love of her life 3 weeks after starting the ritual. A deeper, truer love than anything she had experienced in her youth. Ruth, 58, who hadn't been able to write a single line in 15 years, published her first book at 59, a bestseller that felt as if it were channeled directly from the universe. Coincidences? Kathryn knew they weren't. She had discovered something that ancient women knew instinctively, that female fertility goes far beyond the physical, that there's a fertility of the soul that can be activated at any age. And the trigger for this activation was simple: water, blessing, and the exact moment when the moon is reborn in the sky. But why exactly the new moon? Why not the full moon when the energy seems more intense? Kathryn explained it this way: the full moon is about manifestation, about harvesting what has already been planted, but the new moon is about planting. It's about infinite possibilities. It's about saying yes to what doesn't yet exist. And for a woman who feels that her days of planting are over, that energy is revolutionary. Pause. Breathe deeply. Feel the weight of what you've just discovered. Comment with one word, just one, that defines what's going through your mind right now. Because what comes next will connect all the dots in a way you never imagined. Kathryn didn't stop there. She began to teach that the ritual needed to be performed with a very specific intention. It wasn't about asking, it was about remembering. Remembering that you were born to create. Remembering that your dreams don't have an expiration date. Remembering that there's a force inside you that transcends age, circumstances, societal expectations. She created a prayer that should be whispered before drinking the water. I awaken within me that which has slept. I renew within me that which has dried up. I conceive within me that which has not yet been dreamed. And then, one sip at a time, visualizing not a baby growing in the womb, but a purpose growing in the soul. The women who performed this ritual began to report identical experiences, vivid dreams on the first night, deep insights in the following days, and within a full moon, approximately 2 weeks, concrete changes began to appear. Relationships were repaired, dormant talents awakened, opportunities arose out of nowhere. It was as if the entire universe knew that a woman had decided to be reborn, but Kathryn kept an even deeper secret, something she revealed only in her final years. Something about the type of water she used, where she collected it, and about specific words she whispered over it during the blessing. Secrets that explain why some women experienced instantaneous transformations, while others needed several lunar cycles to feel any change. Secrets that reveal why certain female ages respond more quickly to the ritual, and why certain times of year exponentially increase the results. But before I reveal those secrets, you need to understand something fundamental about what really happens in a woman's body and soul when she stops menstruating, because it's not the end of anything. It's the beginning of something that our society doesn't want you to discover. The truth is, our culture has lied to you about menopause. They told you it's the end of your femininity, the end of your creativity, the end of your ability to bring life into the world. But Kathryn Kuhlman discovered something revolutionary, something that the wise women of ancient civilizations instinctively knew. Menopause isn't when you stop creating. It's when you finally become free to create without limits. Think with me. For decades, your creative energy was literally divided. A significant part of your life force was reserved for the possibility of physical procreation. Even if you never had children, that energy was on standby. But when menstruation ceases, something magical happens. All that creative energy that was divided unifies. It concentrates. It becomes more potent than ever before. Kathryn Kuhlman called this the Great Release, and it was by observing this phenomenon that she developed the specific ritual of the new moon water, because she realized there's a unique window of opportunity in the first few years after menopause, a window where this newly unified creative energy can be consciously directed. But there were rules, secrets that made all the difference between extraordinary results and nothing happening at all. The first secret was about the water. It couldn't be just any water. Kathryn Kuhlman discovered it needed to be water collected from a natural source, preferably a spring. But if that wasn't possible, rainwater collected directly from the sky worked just as well. The reason? Tap water, chemically treated, had lost its original memory. It had forgotten its connection to natural cycles. But spring water, that still remembered where it came from. It still carried the vibration of the earth, the stones, the roots it touched during its journey. Kathryn Kuhlman taught, the water needs to be alive, because you're asking it to awaken something that's alive within you. The second secret was the words. It wasn't just any blessing. Kathryn Kuhlman had developed a specific formula that should be whispered 3 times over the water, always on the night of the exact new moon. Waters born of the earth as I was born of the earth, waters that flow without fear, teach me to flow without fear. Waters that renew all they touch, renew now what is most sacred within me. And then still whispering, I drink not water but possibility, I drink not liquid but future, I drink not H2O, but the universe's yes to my rebirth. But there was a third secret, the most powerful of all, the exact time to drink. It wasn't at any time on the night of the new moon. It had to be exactly at 3:33 a.m., what Kathryn Kuhlman called the hour of the cosmic womb. Why 3:33? Because according to her esoteric studies, this is the moment when the veil between the physical and the spiritual is thinnest. The moment when human intention can literally reprogram reality. Kathryn Kuhlman explained, at 3:33, you're not just drinking water. You're making a pact with the universe. You're declaring that you refuse to accept the narrative that your best days are behind you. The women who followed this protocol exactly reported identical experiences. In the first week after the ritual, extremely vivid dreams. Dreams where they saw themselves young again, but with all the wisdom of maturity. In the second week, profound insights into projects or relationships they had abandoned, as if a fog had lifted from their minds. And in the third week, concrete changes began to manifest in physical reality. But Kathryn Kuhlman noticed something curious. Women between 52 and 58 years old responded more quickly to the ritual. Why? She theorized that this was the age where the energetic transition of menopause was most active, where the great release was still happening, hadn't stabilized. It was like surfing a giant wave of transformation. Older women also benefited, but needed more lunar cycles, and younger women who were still menstruating experienced more subtle effects, as if the energy was still divided, but there were exceptions. Women who had experienced deep trauma, divorce, the death of loved ones, serious illnesses, responded intensely at any age, as if the pain had broken down the barriers that prevented transformation. Kathryn Kuhlman began to understand something revolutionary. The ritual didn't create new capabilities. It awakened capabilities that were always there, but had been stifled by social expectations, fears, or simply the hustle and bustle of life. It was as if each woman carried within her an artist, a leader, a visionary who had been put to sleep during the productive years, and the new moon water was just the kiss that awakened the sleeping beauty within. But then something unexpected happened. In 1975, a year after she began secretly teaching the ritual, Kathryn Kuhlman made a discovery that changed everything. She realized that it wasn't just the mature women who were being transformed, it was their daughters too, their granddaughters. As if the renewal of one woman created energetic waves that reached the entire female lineage of the family. Mothers who were creatively reborn saw depressed daughters regain the joy of living. Grandmothers who resumed old dreams inspired granddaughters to pursue new dreams. It was as if the universe worked in invisible networks, and when a woman decided to stop accepting limitations, all the women connected to her received permission to do the same. Kathryn Kuhlman was witnessing something that science would take decades to understand, that individual transformation generates collective transformation, that personal healing generates systemic healing. But it was in 1976 that she made the most shocking discovery of all. Before I reveal this final truth, tell me in the comments, what do you think we still don't know? What is the missing piece in this puzzle? Because when you discover it, you will understand why this story changed everything. The discovery was accidental. Kathryn Kuhlman was organizing the records of the women who had performed the ritual when she noticed an impossible pattern. 100% of the women who followed the exact protocol, spring water, specific blessing, 333 on the new moon, had experienced significant changes in their lives. 100%. Not 80%. Not 90%. All of them. This was statistically impossible. No method, no matter how powerful, works for 100% of people. Unless it wasn't a method, unless it was something completely different. And that's when Kathryn Kuhlman had the revelation that would change her understanding of everything. The ritual wasn't creating miracles. The ritual was simply removing the barriers that prevented miracles from happening naturally. Each woman already carried within her everything she needed to renew herself. Every woman is, by nature, a being of infinite creativity and possibility. The problem was never a lack of power. The problem was a lack of permission. Permission to dream after 50. Permission to begin again after 60. Permission to shine in a society that teaches mature women to become invisible. And the new moon water ritual didn't grant that permission. It simply created a sacred space where a woman granted that permission to herself. But Kathryn Kuhlman perceived something even deeper, something that explained why certain times of the year amplified the results. Something about cycles within cycles, cosmic patterns that amplified the energy of renewal. She also discovered why some women needed to repeat the ritual for several months before seeing results. There were layers of internal resistance that needed to be gently dissolved, one new moon at a time. Secrets that reveal not only how to make the ritual work, but how to personalize it for your specific situation, how to adapt it if you live in the city and don't have access to spring water. how to modify it if you work shifts and can't wake up at 3:33 a.m., and most importantly, how to recognize when the renewal has already begun, even if the results aren't yet visible in the outside world. Because the most important truth Kathryn Kuhlman discovered was this: transformation always begins within, and the internal signs appear weeks before the external results. Knowing how to recognize these signs is the difference between persevering in the ritual until manifestation, or giving up right when the miracle was about to explode. Kathryn Kuhlman meticulously documented the internal signs that preceded major transformations, and what she discovered will change how you view every subtle shift you feel within yourself. The first sign appears between 3 and 7 days after the ritual: changes in your dreams. Not just more vivid dreams, but dreams where you see yourself doing things you never dared to try in real life. Dreams where you are painting, writing, traveling, loving, creating without fear. Kathryn Kuhlman explained, dreams are the soul's dress rehearsal. When they begin to change, it's because your soul is preparing for a new reality. The second sign appears between 7 and 10 days: irritation with situations you previously accepted passively. Suddenly, you're bothered by empty conversations. Superficial relationships begin to drain you. You begin to question why you're investing time in things that don't nourish you. This irritation isn't negative, Kathryn Kuhlman taught. It's your soul telling you that you've outgrown certain situations. It's time to make different choices. The third sign, between 10 and 14 days, memories of old dreams begin to spontaneously resurface. You remember projects you abandoned, talents you set aside, versions of yourself that were archived because they weren't practical, and for the first time in years, you feel the urge to explore them again. But the fourth sign was the most powerful, and it appeared precisely on the following full moon, 2 weeks after the ritual. Impossible synchronicities begin to happen. You accidentally meet the exact person who can help you with that project. You receive an unexpected invitation to something you've always wanted to do. You discover an opportunity that seems to have been created specifically for you. Kathryn Kuhlman called this the universe reorganizing itself in your favor. But there was an even deeper secret about timing. Kathryn Kuhlman discovered that certain times of the year exponentially amplified the results of the ritual. The most powerful months were March, spring equinox, June, summer solstice, and September, autumn equinox. Months where cosmic energy was naturally geared towards renewal and growth. Women who performed the ritual during these times reported faster and deeper transformations, as if they were surfing natural cosmic waves instead of swimming against the current. But what if you can't wake up at 3:33 a.m.? What if you live in the city and don't have access to spring water? Kathryn Kuhlman developed adaptations that maintained the essence of the ritual. For shift workers, the time can be adjusted to 3:33 a.m. of any 8-hour period you consider your night. The important thing is the intention and commitment to a sacred moment. For urban waters, leave a glass of filtered water under the moonlight, even through the window, for at least 3 hours on the night of the new moon. The water remembers the lunar energy. For apartments without a view of the sky, place a picture of the new moon next to the glass. Focused intention has real power. What cannot be changed is the specific blessing and the date. It has to be exactly on the new moon. But Kathryn Kuhlman discovered something even more revolutionary about personalization. She realized that women with different creativity wounds needed subtle variations in the ritual. For women who were discouraged from creating in childhood, she added a line to the blessing: "I forgive those who didn't know how to protect my dreams, and I now assume the complete protection of my creativity." For women who sacrificed dreams for their children, the addition was, "I honor everything I gave for love, and now I allow myself to receive from life what my soul deserves." For women who felt too old for too long, "I reject the lies about time and age, and I open myself to the infinite possibilities that each moment offers." Each targeted variation created more specific and profound results. In 1977, Kathryn Kuhlman made her last great discovery about the ritual, something she kept absolutely secret until her death, revealing it only in private letters that were discovered decades later. She realized that the ritual worked because it reactivates something she called the female renewal code. According to Kathryn Kuhlman, every woman is born with an energetic programming to completely renew herself every 7 years. But modern society, stress and expectations gradually disable this programming. Menopause should be the most powerful moment of renewal of all. The transformation from the woman who generates physical life to the woman who generates spiritual and creative life. But instead of celebrating this, our culture teaches women to lament this transition. The new moon water ritual simply reconnects the renewal code that should never have been disconnected. And when that happens, you don't go back to being who you were at 20, 30, or 40. You become who you should always have been, the most complete, wise, and powerful version of yourself. Kathryn Kuhlman died in 1976, but her last words were, "I saw the future. I saw millions of women rediscovering that age is just a number, and that creativity has no expiration date." Perhaps she saw you. Perhaps she saw this moment, you now, discovering that there's still time, that there are still possibilities, that there's still a version of you waiting to be born. Because the question you asked at the beginning, "Is there still time for me?" was never about time. It was about permission. Permission to begin again. Permission to dream without age. Permission to create without fear of judgment. And that permission, what you always had the power to grant yourself. The water of the new moon is just the ritual, the symbol, the sacred ceremony where you formalize a decision that was already blossoming in your heart. The decision that your best chapters weren't left in the past, they're waiting to be written. Now, on the next new moon, when you look to the heavens and see that dark space where the moon will be reborn, remember this story. Remember that you too can be reborn in as many times as you want at any age, because you are not just a woman who is aging. You are a woman who is becoming, and the entire universe is waiting to see who you will become. Kathryn Kuhlman reminds us of this profound truth, the power of renewal within each of us, a spiritual wellspring that can be tapped at any stage of life's journey. Embrace this power. Embrace your becoming.